Well, hello, and last week we heard the story about the bad brother. Do you remember his name? Of course, it was Jacob. Do you know, even though Jacob had cheated his brother, God still had plans for him. Jacob ran away from his family, but he couldn't run away from God. And in our story today, Jacob learned just what it would be like to be cheated too. So, in a moment, we'll hear the story called The Runaway. But first, Anne's going to make a ladder with you. And this ladder is very important because it comes into our story. So see how to make a ladder with Anne.
And so in our story today, we're going to hear the second part of the story of Jacob and Esau, and how Jacob had tricked their father Isaac into giving his promise and his blessing to Jacob rather than his older brother Esau. And we're going to hear that story. But in that story, there is a part about a ladder. And we're going to make a paper ladder today. And we're going to use it as to show the times that we are good and we do helpful things to people, and maybe come back down the ladder when we don't do so well. So what we need is a glue, we need some scissors, and we need some long bits of paper. This is a standard piece of A4 that I've cut into two. So a piece of paper like this, fold it in half and cut it. So you have two lengths. And then what we need to do is we need to roll up this first piece of paper. Not too tightly. If you do it too tightly, it's going to make making the ladder really difficult. So just roll it up. And as you get to the end, a couple of centimetres from the end, just slip in the next bit of paper so that our ladder can be quite tall. And then keep rolling. That's where the other piece of paper ends. Just fold that in. Keep going. If your ends become a bit untied, you just push them back in. There we are. So you get a reasonably neat roll. Okay. Now you've got to hold it tightly. Now you need the scissors. And what we're going to do is we're going to put two cuts into this. So just flatten it out so it's slightly easier. And then we're going to cut about a third from the end. And almost two. Don't cut it all the way through, but just about half a centimetre less to the end. And at the other end, the same distance. You can do this by eye, or you could measure it so you get the same amount. These are going to be the legs of the ladder, the sides. Just cut again, carefully, not to the edge. Okay, and now this is where we need our glue. We open those flaps up and we place glue on the outside one and the other outside one. Okay, and then you just want to fold them over so they're stuck. You can leave this one up. Okay, and we don't like to stick them down. And then what we want to do is bend this one over and this one over. And now what we're going to do is we're going to cut along the top here, roughly in the middle. It is a bit tough, so you may need somebody to help you, but just cut along there. There we are. And now, this is the bit that's really fun. Carefully, very carefully, start teasing the legs out. Each side, bit by bit, pulling, and you can see it's beginning to grow. Our ladder's beginning to grow. There we are, keep going. If you do all one side first, you want more chance of ripping it. So a little bit at a time, each time, just ease those out. And it's growing. There we go. And when you think you're almost there, you then have to fold these over. Now this is a bit fiddly, so do take your time with it. You fold one piece over and then glue the other side so that it forms a step. And you can do the next one. You fold that one over and then you glue it all the way down to the bottom. And so you end up in the end with your ladder like this. And what I thought we could do is use them to, record the times that we behave well, unlike Jacob in our story. And so we can climb the ladder, slowly doing good things. And if we do something wrong, then we can come back down. Now you can do that by marking them. I've got a little clip here. You can use a paper clip, or you can just mark them, just to show where you are. And we just remember the times that we are good and noble and honest in our dealings with others, and how we can be helpful as Christ asks us all to be. Our ladder.
So our story this week is called The Runaway. Jacob ran and ran. Jacob had cheated his brother Esau, and now his brother wanted to kill him, so Jacob ran. And God watched. God watched and watched. God watched Jacob run. And when Jacob was tired and could run no further, when Jacob fell exhausted on the desert floor with only a stone for a pillow, when Jacob was finally ready to listen, God spoke. He came to Jacob in a dream. There was a ladder reaching right up into heaven, with angels parading up and down. And at the very top of the ladder stood God himself. Jacob, he said, I am God of your father Isaac and of your grandfather Abraham, and I am here to make you the same promise I made to them. This land is yours. Your family will be great, and one day through your family I will do something wonderful for the whole world. Now go, and don't be afraid, for you can always count on me to protect you. Jacob woke up amazed. He said thank you to God, and he left a stone to mark that special place. And then Jacob ran. He ran and he ran all the way to his uncle Laban's house, where his mother had told him he would be safe, and where God knew he would learn an important lesson. Now Laban had 2 daughters. The older daughter, her name was Leah, which means tired. The younger daughter's name was Rachel, which means lamb. Rachel was beautiful, and the moment Jacob set eyes on her, he knew that she was the girl for him. Wonderful, said his uncle Laban. Work for me for 7 years and she will be your wife. 7 years passed, but Jacob was so in love with Rachel that it seemed no longer than a day. The wedding was well attended. The dress was beautiful. But when Jacob pulled aside the veil that hid his bride's face, he found that he was looking into Leah's tired eyes. Oh, I forgot to mention, grinned Laban. Leah is my eldest daughter, so she has to marry first. But you can marry Rachel next week, if you like, as long as you promise to work for me for another 7 years. Jacob looked at the ground. Now the cheater knew how it felt to be cheated. What else could Jacob do? He waited a week, married Rachel, and worked another 7 years for his uncle Laban. Then he headed home, a very different man from the one who had run away. Jacob walked and walked, and when his home was no more than a day's walk away, he saw Esau, his brother, walking towards him. Jacob told his family to stay behind and walked ahead to face his brother's anger. He wasn't running now. He believed that God would protect him. And so God did, because Esau was different too. When he saw Jacob, he ran to him, reached out his hairy arms, and he hugged him. "I'm sorry," said Jacob. "I forgive you," Esau answered. And the two sons of Isaac, became brothers at last. So, Jacob learned, didn't he, that even though he'd done a bad thing when he cheated his brother, God still loved him and wanted him to change his ways. But he had a long lesson ahead of him. In fact, it was about 14 years before God had really taught Jacob his lesson. And it was 14 years before Jacob and Esau, the brother he had cheated, met again. So it was a long, long time before Jacob was able to say that he was sorry. But you know, it didn't matter how long it took, because in the end, the two brothers were friends again. Jacob learned to say sorry because he realized how awful it was to be cheated on like he'd cheated on his brother. And Esau, I think, had been on his own long enough to accept that apology. Forgiveness was so important in our story. And even when bad things happened, God still loved them all equally.
And so our song this week is "I'm Going to Click My Fingers." It's got 4 verses. The last verse repeats the first verse. We only have 3 to remember, and there are actions which helps us remember the words. So it goes, I'm going to click my fingers, I'm going to clap my hands, I'm going to click, I'm going to clap and praise the Lord. Because of all he's done, I'm going to make him number 1. I'm going to click, I'm going to clap and praise the Lord. Second verse, I'm going to zoom, zoom, zoom around the room. I'm going to zoom around the room and praise the Lord. Because of all he's done, I'm going to make him number 1. I'm going to zoom around the room and praise the Lord. Third verse, I'm going to sing, sing, sing. I'm going to shout, shout, shout. I'm going to sing, I'm going to shout and praise the Lord. Because of all he's done, I'm going to make him number 1. I'm going to sing, I'm going to shout and praise the Lord. And finally, we're back to that first verse again. I'm going to click, click, click. I'm going to clap, clap, clap. I'm going to click, I'm going to clap and praise the Lord. Because of all he's done, I'm going to make him number 1. I'm going to click, I'm going to clap and praise the Lord. And so our song today is I'm going to click. Here we go. Click, click, click. I'm going to click, click, click. I'm going to clap, clap, clap. Gonna click, I'm gonna clap and praise the Lord. Because of all he's done, I'm gonna make him number 1. I'm gonna click, I'm gonna clap and praise the Lord. I'm gonna zoom, zoom, zoom around the room. I'm gonna zoom around the room and praise the Lord. Because of all he's done, I'm gonna make him number 1. I'm gonna zoom around the room and praise the Lord. I'm gonna sing, sing, sing. I'm gonna shout, shout, shout. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna shout and praise the Lord. Because of all he's done, I'm gonna make him number 1. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna shout and praise the Lord. I'm gonna click, click, click. I'm gonna clap, clap, clap. I'm gonna click, I'm gonna clap and praise the Lord. Because of all he's done, I'm gonna make him number 1. I'm gonna click, I'm gonna clap and praise the Lord. Yes.
So as we finish this session for this week and we start our new programme next week, let's just pause for a moment of prayer. Think about how you might have felt when you've had an argument. Maybe you had one yesterday. Maybe you've fallen out with a friend or a brother or sister. Maybe there's somebody that you really need to make up with. So let's just think about that for a quiet moment. Now I'm going to say our prayer. Dear God, thank you that Esau forgave Jacob when he said sorry. Please help us to say sorry and forgive each other when we have arguments and fall out with our friends and family. And let's do a nice big Amen. See you soon.